So it's the Jasmine brand here. I'm here with Carlos King. I'm so excited to meet you and see you.
Thank you.
Because I always see you in the cut breaking up fights, or I'll see you, like I saw you. I was going to interview some folks, and I saw you doing Nene's show, and I just like always see you in the cut.
Someone told me you were at Del Frisco.
Yes.
Like, there's some girl there with the camera. I was like, get her out of there. We don't allow filming.
Yeah. Well, I was actually interviewing someone. I wasn't
at the restaurant.
Yes, I was doing
funny.
some. So, anyways, it's nice to meet you because I always see you like in the cut somewhere.
Okay.
So, first basic question, TV aside, who is Carlos King?
Good question. Carlos King is a man who's all about his business. Carlos King is somebody who is fortunate enough to work in the television industry for almost 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, I'm very passionate about my work. I'm a very passionate person when it comes to all aspects of my life. My family, my friends, everything about me is driven by passion.
Okay.
So that's why I'm fun, I'm loving. I'm your typical guy from the Midwest, very respectful of people. And I just appreciate every blessing that God has blessed me with.
Okay, so speaking, you're from the Midwest. I told you offline that I'm from the Midwest too. But what was life growing up like in Detroit?
Well,
I have my own idea. So go ahead.
I'll tell you the real deal.
Okay.
No, being from Detroit was great. I appreciated being born and raised in a city where, the history is the Motown sound, the history is music. And my father used to be a saxophone player for the Dramatics. So all of my life, I was surrounded by music and entertainment, which is the reason why I'm probably, so successful in the entertainment industry, because that's all I know. And being from Detroit, where it's the big three, which is the motor industry, you have General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. So pretty much when you're somebody who's young and you're black and you're a male, the success when you're from Detroit is working for those three companies, which is great.
Yeah, it's like having a government job when you work in D.C.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when you're from Detroit, you're a black man, it's like, oh, you're going to work for the big three. And I never wanted to do that with my life. So a lot of my ambition and passion comes from the fact that I was born and raised in a town where entertainment wasn't, at the time, at the forefront. Okay. So I've always been a dreamer. I've always been somebody who knew at an early age that my life was never going to end in Detroit. So the reason why I'm so ambitious and driven is because I knew that I had to overcome all these obstacles and leave Detroit at 21 and go to New York City. Well,
what gave you the guts to actually do it? Because, there are a lot of folk that are watch this or, at home or from like small towns, maybe not towns where things are popping and want to do stuff, but they just don't have that. What gave you the guts to actually do it? Like get up and make plans?
I had no other choice.
Okay.
It was either, get out of Detroit or I would suffer.
Okay.
Emotionally. I would suffer physically. I think with anybody who has a passion for what they want to do in life, you have to really go after your dreams, and if you don't, you're like hurting yourself inside. Like anybody who's passionate about the arts or passionate about doing what you do, like you can't imagine doing anything else besides what you're doing at this moment.
Right.
And it'll eat you up inside if you weren't doing what you were doing. So with me, I was always like, I need to be in New York. I need to work in television. And the drive came from I refuse to be somebody who will look back at their lives years later and be like, I have so many regrets.
Yeah, or we'll wonder what would have
happened if I didn't try. And I've always been that guy who was like, I'm just going to try.
Yeah.
And, if it doesn't work out, at least I tried.
Right.
So that's where it comes from.
And so you interned for places like The View, 2020.
Intern at The View, 20. You did your research, girl.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, some people don't. Who are you? I'm like,
well, the thing is, I do ask questions that I already know because everyone doesn't know them.
No, but that's good. No, I'm impressed.
Okay, thank you. But I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest lesson that you learned from interning at The View? Because that's such a popular show. It's been around for a minute.
Yes, and what's so funny about that show, and again, my success comes from God blessing me. Like I'm somebody who goes after my goals and God just blesses me, because I think when God sees that you're working towards something, He helps you along further. So I moved to New York in 2002. And my first internship was at Def Jam. It's the music industry because I love music. Again, Motown sound.
Yeah.
So I applied at The View.
Okay.
Sent my cover letter, my resume. That's it. And they called me back 2 weeks later. And I had an interview with the executive producer of the show, and she was like, what impressed me about your resume and cover letter, because we got 500 applicants.
Of course they did.
And we chose you and 5 other people. And what stood out with you was you had a quote from Booker T. Washington on your cover letter that spoke about success and how, you know, the journey to success is all contingent upon you following your dreams and God helping you. And she said, I was so impressed by your
quote.
Cover. Yeah, the quote. So she was like, do you want to work for us? And I was like, yeah. So I worked for The View. My first paid internship, it was Star Jones, Joy Behar, Merida Vieira, and Lisa Link just left. Okay. And what I learned from that experience was seeing all these people get up so early in the morning to produce quality television and being passionate about their job. And me being young and in school, I was just impressed with the professionalism and the drive that these people have waking up at 4 in the morning during rehearsals, because it's a live show. Right, yeah. So what people don't know is everything you see is already rehearsed.
Right, it's not off the cuff.
It's not off the cuff. Right. And that's the reason why that show is great, and it's, you know, they won Emmy Awards is because of the quality and the passion that the producers have for the show. So I learned that, like, you just have to get up early. I know. Work late. Yeah. But at least you can sit at home and see your product on television and know that you worked hard for this and people respect it.
What about your experience at BET?
I love BET. The reason why I am successful is because of BET. Because, again, I interned there and I got my first paid job at BET. And when you're working amongst your peers, you know, African Americans, they were all young at the time. They were all just so giving and they wanted to teach you things. And BET is a big company, but it's small in terms of the access. So when you are working at BET, you have to do everybody's job. I was a PA, but I interviewed Beyonce on the red carpet because we didn't have that many people working on the show. So I learned everything within a year working at BET as a production assistant. I got a chance to produce what we call packages. So when you watch shows like Entertainment Tonight and you see, you know, somebody interviewing Beyonce on the red carpet and you see like her videos and you see all these other things going on. I was responsible for something like that as a production assistant, which is unheard of. So if I worked for a bigger company, I would have been somebody who just took notes and that was it. So BET groomed me to be where I'm at today. Okay. Switching gears a little bit, I think I said this initially. I had heard your name before, but we, you know, regular folk, we watch TV, we don't really know the people behind. We know Mona's name now, Mona Young's name, but you know, the first time I saw you, you were breaking up a fight, and then I saw a little commentary from you, and I was like, what does he do? Like, I'm so confused or whatever. So I mean, I kind of figured it out, but but you know, I'm not 100% clear. So what exactly, like for the regular folk that are not in the industry, what exactly do you do? Right now, what I did for Love and Hip Hop. What do you do? Because it changes for each show, right? Yeah, well, I'm now the executive producer of Nene Leak's wedding special. Okay, so hold that. Let's put a penny on that. So what do you do for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta besides breakup fights? Well, I do more than that. I know you do. I'm not hit security. I know people think I am. No, so when I was working for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, I was the co-executive producer. And what does that mean? The co-executive producer, you are responsible pretty much for the look of the show and for the storyline that you guys see on the show. Okay. So ranging from managing a crew of 20 people, managing your talent. So my job as the executive producer was to talk to the talent, you know, try to understand what their story is and try to make it compelling for television. So to give an example, you know, you talk to Mimi and Stevie and Jocelyn on a daily basis, and Stevie may tell you, I'm having issues with Mimi, she's not telling me where she's living, blah, blah, blah. Right. So you tape a moment where he's able to have that conversation, and it has to make sense for the audience. Okay. And it has to make sense for people who are trying to understand their story. Okay. So you tape that scene and then you go and you try to follow up with that storyline. Okay. So when you watch an episode and you kind of see how he speaks to her, then he goes see Jocelyn, and it all kind of makes sense how the storyline is pretty much arched throughout the episode. So it's my job as the executive producer to really try to formulate that to make it compelling for television. And then, you know, the boring stuff, again, you managing the crew, you set the look of the show.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, you have meetings with the network who are asking you tons of questions. You have meetings with your crew in terms of the look of the show, and you know, this is going to be this way and that's going to be that way. And then, you know, the aftermath is pretty much what people don't know. You know, receiving a phone call from your talent at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, this happened to me, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to jail. We got into a fight. And you're like, I just want to have a normal life.
Right.
But it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got someone calling me expressing, you know, what's going on in their lives, because that is my job to understand it. And I work on shows that aren't scripted. I work on shows where the talent feels comfortable telling me things they don't tell people they've known for years. Because they understand that they can trust me with their story, and I'm able to tell the story that's truthful and effective and also compelling. So it's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Besides breaking up fights.
That's a lot.
And also break up fights, and you know, I'm security too.
Okay.